Hey gamers! Welcome to Thalry Games. This is Carrie, and today we're going to talk about the Otome game Cafe Enchante, one of my personal favorites. I wanted to start a review series with this one because it was such a pleasant surprise, and I believe more of the Otome Armada should consider taking it up. This was released in the height of the early pandemic where people were generally afraid and depressed from world events to visual novel bad endings. I'm looking at you, Pio Fiore. I just need a quick pick-me-up, and Cafe Enchante happens to fit the bill with its catchy opening and creepy characters. Before I start, just a quick reminder that this is an Otome review, and there will be minor spoilers, so let's see if this game will enchant you, or if it will be a no. The game starts with the titular cafe being entrusted to the heroine Otome. Due to the passing of the previous owner, her grandfather, there she discovers that the shop holds the gate to multiple worlds, making the cafe a hangout spot for the king of demons, a humanoid beast, a fallen angel, and more. While I'm not a furry nor am I a big fan of non-human love interests, I found the cast very charming. Canis Espada is the very controversial headless knight, a dullahan from the fairy world Medio. One of my friends actually tried Cafe Enchante just to check him out. Like, what was his deal? Will we ever see his face in his route? He is voiced by Yuichiro Umehara, known for his work as Leona from Disney Twisted Wonderland, Shingen from Ikemen Sengoku, Demento from Period Cube, and more recently as Benkei from Birushana Senki. My initial impressions of Canis was that he is this gentle giant, looks intimidating but really is a big softie, and I feel I was right on the money.
まず身長は190センチで体重は秘密。趣味は筋トレやガーデニングなどを。
Early on in the game, we find out that he is actually pretty well known in town, albeit on the weirder side, what with the helmet and all. One would think that it would be hard to get a read on him, but out of all the cast, he is actually the most expressive. While he is gentle and kind, his character definitely has more depth, especially with his backstory. There is some darkness there, and the reason will be explored in his route. He is the type to work first and personal feelings later. On other routes, he can be the voice of reason. Ignis Carbunculus is the strongest demon beast from Bestia, the world of beasts. For me, Ignis is a tsundere archetype done right. He has reasons for acting the way he does, and not just because it's his personality. He is voiced by Yuki Ono, known for his work as Hamelin in Oz Mafia, Psyche in Color Malice, Gavin from Love and Producer, and Prince Chevalier from Ikemen Prince. There wasn't exactly anything standing out from Ignis when I first saw his character art and the trailer. I guessed he was going to be a very prideful and pulls no punches kind of guy.
別にジジイの孫にしちゃ随分冴えねえ女だな。
Ignis is closest in range to the heroine relative to the human lifespan, so their interaction seems the most natural out of all the love interests. Ignis can actually pass as a normal guy scarfing down his meals in the cafe. In Bestia, the way of living there is survival of the fittest, or kill or be killed. So you can imagine what the title of the strongest entails. While the common route did touch this, the branching point of Ignis' route actually started pretty tame and wholesome, like how the rest of the cast continues to tease him, but do be ready for all the angst later in his route. Kaurorinda is an agent for the non-human government organization that watches over the cast. He is the older love interest in Cafe Enchante, even though he's technically younger than some of the cast in terms of human years. He is voiced by Junichi Suwabe, known for his work as Artem from Tears of Themis, Van from Code Realize, and Ko from Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side 3rd Story. I'm not exactly fond of older love interests that will keep reminding you of the age gap between him and the heroine, so my initial thoughts of Rindo weren't exactly flattering.
そんなものが群れをなす場所に君みたいな可憐なお嬢さんが向かうのは僕としてはちょっと心配なんだ。
I wasn't exactly sure what to expect in his route, and how it will compare to the backstory or world building of non-human locations, but in hindsight, I think it did make sense. What can mankind do knowing the existence of non-humans in terms of maybe making the world a better place? Rindo's route was surprisingly entertaining and, like with all the other routes, heart-wrenching, even when there is already a bit of foreshadowing. While I think the actions of the supporting cast is really what made this a great storyline, the exchanges between Rindo and the heroine about their insecurities also left a mark and was really emotional and mature. Il Fado de Rie is a fallen angel from the heavenly world Kiln. He was introduced as this quirky, Otome-loving otaku, which is not exactly what you'd expect as attributes of a heavenly being. Thankfully, it wasn't the reason he was cast out. He is voiced by Kaito Ishikawa, known for his work as Hitekage from Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly, Alan from Midnight Cinderella, Dante from Pio Fiore no Bancho, and Marius from Tears of Themis. From the get-go, we can already see that Il has a few screws loose, given his apparent love of Otome and his spacey disposition, but still ends up being the one who gets to assess and resolve things logically.
私は打天使イルファドデリエ呼びにくければイルで結構です
I actually thought that the Otome-loving part was quite meta and an obvious appeal to the players of the game. Il's route is by far my favorite, from their casual discussion on Otome to one of the biggest plot twists. It was as if all the other routes didn't prepare us on how dark and angsty the game can be. Mr. Rex is the poster boy and resident demon king from the cast. He can be very playful, but his love of coffee is second to none. He is voiced by Kenshi Akabane, known for his work as Sasuke from Ikemen Sengoku, Awin from the Atelier series, and Forte in Tales of Crestoria.
だから油断してると君もさらっちゃうぞお姫様
His character art, or more so his outfit, was quite interesting since it's a bit different from what we're used to what a demon king looks like in anime. I agree with Kotone's comment that his wardrobe looks more of a wizard's. It was an interesting art direction and will actually make sense in his route. While he can be a bit mischievous, he definitely has this doting father or protective older brother personality towards Kotone initially. This is apparent during the common, Il's, and Rindo's route. And even though he's supportive in other routes, you can still feel that Kotone is very important to him. I really enjoyed Mr.'s route even when it is quite long, since all the other routes were nicely tied together. All the plot holes or unexplained points were finally addressed. I also like that while it is plot driven, I feel that the romantic aspect of the story did not take a backseat. Overall, the love interests have consistent attitude and personality in all routes. They all shine in each of their routes and still remain very significant in other routes. The camaraderie or family dynamics between the cast is definitely one of the highlights for Cafe Enchante. Recommendation for Cafe Enchante from least true ending plot spoilers is from Canis to Ignis to Rindo's, then Il's, and finally Mr.'s route. While a big part of the story is set in the cafe with our regulars just chatting about their day-to-day lives, we get to see the different worlds where our regulars come from. What I enjoyed about it is we get to see different sides of each of the love interests. There are different lore and rules for each world, and each route will dig deeper on what it means to actually live or survive in that world. I also like that in each world, one of the love interests is weakened due to the incompatibility with the environment, and this throws off the power balance, which in turn makes the routes very different from each other. The common route is 8 chapters long, and it is quite long if you compare it with other Otomes, but I feel that for the world building to make sense, the length is just right. We get to familiarize ourselves with the cast and the family dynamic of the main cast before and after Kotone enters the picture. In the true route, there will also be closure for the rest of the cast. You know, when you've played a few routes and you're currently playing a different love interest, but you keep looking back knowing that the prior love interest is all alone, secretly trying to solve his own issues without the heroine. That feeling will finally be put to rest since the story ties up really nicely. Although I would have liked a better ending for Mr.'s route, I guess you can say that Cafe Enchante is consistent with bittersweet endings. While the story is very enjoyable, one thing that needs improvement is the localization. There are unfortunately not just minor misspelling errors, but different names pertaining to one character. This is possibly due to different translators working on different chapters of a story, and while we can understand the gist of the story, these errors are not exactly something we can just gloss over, especially if it could have been resolved by a simple QA or quality check. Cafe Enchante has been released for a while now, so I'm not going to hold my breath for any plans on patching. With the memorable and quirky main cast, Character scores 20 out of 25. While the story is well executed, the localization, however, did not stop in just a few incorrect grammar or spelling. Story scores 18 out of 25. I did quite enjoy the side characters in Cafe Enchante. I do believe that what makes a good story into a great story are the supporting cast. And for Cafe Enchante, I think the writers are really good, since you either really like the cast or really hate them, as was intended to make a really compelling story. Each one of them shines and has their own character development depending on the route. I especially enjoyed Mikado in Rindo's route and Mikado's assistant in a separate route. As you go through the story, you'll understand their actions, the reason behind their personalities, and why their characters ended up that way by the end of the story. Karia, Titania, and Venya are really good characters as well. Their significance in the story differs from route to route, but they definitely already left a lasting impression in the common route, especially on how long it was. With great character development, supporting cast scores 9 out of 10. I really like the heroine Otome because of her relatability and backstory. While she does show her weakness and vulnerability early on in the game, she is able to rise above it. I'm no stranger to a toxic work culture. That's probably why I empathize with Otome and her decision to take over the cafe. One gripe I have about her is her character design. She is pretty, but it's not exactly memorable compared to other Otome heroines. I do think that this is the art direction the team was going for, a modern-day, everyday type of working woman that anyone can relate to. In a mix of quirky, non-human casts, Otome still stands on her own. It's easy for a non-human to have some traits that stand out, but for Otome, it's her normalcy. It is quite refreshing having a heroine who has a realistic level of weakness and strength. She is physically weak and has no experience running a cafe, but still makes the best of it. The regulars are always ready to assist her, in part because of her conviction and warm personality, and this is consistent in each route. I love that Otome's role wasn't just to be a romantic partner for the troubled love interests. Take her away and the events in the story wouldn't happen. In fact, she is the trigger of the whole story to unfold and the trigger to the solution in most routes. Otome is a refreshing heroine with a good mix of realism and relatability. Heroine scores 8 out of 10. As for the music, the sound effects and background music are very much on point. From the giddy chatter of the cafe regulars, the adrenaline-filled fight scenes, to somber seclusions in some routes, Cafe Enchante has a wide range. And since it has this cafe theme, I actually set it as my ambient music whenever I need to focus. The tracks are available within the game. You can listen to it under daily specials or extra. Not to be outshined, but the opening theme song Precious Places, Precious Faces by Kaori Oda is very bright and catchy. This is the song used in the trailer and it definitely caught me off guard on how dark the story can get. While the ending theme Eternal by the very same Kaori Oda, alongside Shoji, perfectly captures the essence of each of the story's conclusions. Bittersweet but happy nonetheless. I used to not pay attention to soundtracks before this as I felt that the other Otomes were a bit generic. It just goes to show how distinctive the music is for Cafe Enchante. Music scores 8 out of 10. Yuya handled the overall art and is known for their works on Cupid Parasite and the upcoming 9 Rip. The character sprites, the CGs, the backgrounds are amazing, hands down one of the most beautiful art I've seen in Otome. Not to mention that the UI is gorgeous as well. There are a lot of details that goes really well with the cafe aesthetic. The home screen looks like we're in a restaurant and the selection or options available is the menu and I'm all for it. Art scores 9 out of 10. Cafe Enchante is definitely one of the longer Otome available, and while I do not equate length of game to quality, I do feel that the game is worth it for an average price of commercial titles, just for the quirky cast and story alone, even with the less than desired localization. Does go on sale more frequently now on eShop and you can get notified through Deco deals. Value for price scores 8 out of 10. With a memorable and lovable cast, relatable and realistic heroine, gorgeous cafe-themed user interface, Cafe Enchante scores 80. Definitely still one of my pick-me-ups on a bad day. Thank you for watching.